This channel has grown an incredibly large amount since it was officially founded in the United States in 2015. 6 years down the road, and we are employing people, we're expanding, we're constantly improving the quality of our videos and the quality of our output. But we've kind of hit a wall. And today I want to talk to you about that wall, and I want to know what you think we should do about it. As a business owner, as a creator, my first duty is to cover the world of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transport. And that's true for everybody else who works with Transport Evolved too, whether they are salaried members of staff, whether they are contractors who come in and help on occasion, or whether they're volunteers who help out with moderating the chat room. By the way, you guys absolutely rock. Anybody who helps Transport Evolved out free of charge, you have my eternal gratitude, and I tend not to give you a shout out as much as I ought, so thank you. Looking forwards, the world of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter vehicles is getting larger all the time. We are seeing an explosion, not literally, of vehicles entering the market. It's something that we talked about yesterday on the chat between Kate, myself and Erin when we were discussing affordabilities of electric cars coming into the marketplace. And we want to cover that. We want to cover more of the world. We're preparing a piece right now on the Chinese car market. I've been editing that script today. Thanks, Morgan, for writing that. And we've also been looking at some options of coverage elsewhere in the world. But as you know, we also hold our own journalistic integrity close to our heart. And that means that when we make a mistake, we say sorry. Last week, in 10, for example, I said that the idea of a carbon tax was well received and people didn't get that I was being sarcastic. I am sorry for that, and we'll make sure that we mention that in this weekend's 10. But most YouTubers out there tie themselves up with sponsorship deals and sponsored posts, and Tom Scott did a very good video earlier this week talking about how creators have to disclose any kind of financial relationship or vested interest, but TV and film don't have to as much. And I've also gained from reading the comments and watching people's reaction to any content that we've made in the past that has had an inkling of sponsored content about it, that you really don't like it when we do that. We have signed an agreement with a company that we're going to be introducing you to in the future in an adjacent industry. I've mentioned them once before on the channel. They help people find solar installers in their area, and I was okay doing that because it was a service that I've personally used to put my own solar panels on the roof, but also it's in an adjacent industry rather than a car company or something like that. I know lots of our competitors in the space do make sure that they, or are welcoming rather, of partnerships with car companies, and that sometimes gives them access to extra things. But I've always felt that it means that it's very difficult for us to be completely honest about a product. If we are financially relying on that company somewhere down the line, it's very difficult to be completely honest and brutal. And sometimes that's what the auto industry needs, just like the rest of the world. You can't imagine, for example, news outlets saying we can't be horrible about this political campaign because they paid to put an ad on our channel. And that is why advertising departments of companies and editorial departments are kept very separate indeed. Now, we are not a big company, and that means that everything really has to go through me, unless it's Google ads, in which case the ads you see on YouTube, I have nothing to do with. They are placed automatically, and Google just sends the revenue to us. I'm bringing this all to you today because I'm very, very aware that Transport Evolved risks becoming a channel that is no longer relevant. We can only do so much as a small team, and we've been thinking about ways of how to grow the team. We've got lots of ideas, but you are part of the channel too. Our viewers, our audience, you talk to us, you respond to our content, and if you are a Patreon supporter or you're somebody who pays for YouTube Premium, or even if you just watch the adverts, you're still part of the channel, and you're still part of the reason why the channel is successful and why it succeeds today. And so there are a couple of different options that we could consider in order to grow the company, in order to bring in extra capital. The first one, of course, is to get investors. It's to do what Fully Charged did, which was have an investment, a crowd-funded investment round, and to change the structure of the company so that that was possible. For us, it would be possible to do that. It would involve a lot of extra paperwork, aside from the full day's worth of paperwork that I have done today, which has meant that I've not been able to write and film and script a normal video, and it's one of the reasons why I decided to pick this from the wall of show ideas that I have on Trello to talk to you about today. This is completely unscripted. I don't want to necessarily go down the investor route where Transport Evolved ends up having to give a large proportion of itself to people who might have editorial control or have an implied editorial control. I don't think that's necessarily something that I would feel comfortable with. Crowdsourcing, yes, maybe. Crowdfunding, yes, maybe. And if you think that's something that we should look at, then we certainly will. The other option is for us to continue to do what we've done. We've spent absolutely nothing on advertising, on promotion, and everything that we've got to, everything that we've gained thus far has been organic, just by me making lots of noise, by people talking about us, and us trying to produce high quality content. Hopefully by a team of people who don't just cover greener transportation, but actually live and breathe it every day. Everybody who is involved with the channel, with the exception of our camera guys, owns and drives or regularly interacts with electric vehicles. And we feel that gives us an edge in the marketplace because we are talking to people who own cars or are wanting to buy cars. We're talking about our own experiences, I hope, in honest terms, not terms that are necessarily rosy or designed to get people to buy one particular type of car. The other option is for us to work more with the industry. Maybe not necessarily the automotive industry, but associated industries, for us to do more stuff on the side. Now, that would have a knock-on effect to our content, because if we're producing a lot of side projects, then it's going to mean the amount of time that we have as a team to spend on producing daily content might go down. You might not know this, but between the start of November and the start of January, Aaron and I were working on a side project for a related company in the sphere, and we were working with them on producing some videos. Not an automaker, I hasten to add. Working on that on the side meant that we were really constrained in what we could do, and it meant long nights and lots of extra work. Now, if we want to do that to grow Transport Evolved, because it's quite lucrative, we bring in some extra money, it might mean that we reduce our output. But in the long term, we can expand the team. We really need to start looking at getting a commercial property again. And that's because we're limited right now by the physical location I'm currently in, which is in the spare bedroom of the house that I own in Oregon. The internet connection here is pretty terrible. And after COVID, I think everybody on the team is going to want to work together again. So we're going to start looking for that and expanding that search. And that should mean that we have more people. We can work with more people and maybe get some video editors on board, and maybe we can make more videos without me having to edit them all myself by hand, which is currently what's happening. But all of that requires money. So if you've got any ideas as to how you would like to see Transport Evolved grow, let me know. I don't want to do anything crazy. I think you all know by now how much I dislike the idea of getting a bunch of investors on board and making money quick, because that's not the ethos of the company. We want to be here in the long run. But with everybody else coming on board, with electric vehicles now becoming mainstream, there are companies out there that have a lot more money than us, a lot more gear than us, a lot more people than us, who are going to be able to overtake us in terms of content, not because necessarily they know more than us in the sector, but because they have more resources. So if you have any ideas, let me know. And I know some of you have said, well, what about viewer-submitted videos? What about viewer-generated content? That opens up a whole can of worms because it would require people to prove that they generated that themselves, that they didn't use any copyrighted material, the onus would be on them, not on us, and then we would be gatekeepers of other people's stuff. And frankly, when you have to edit other people's stuff for clarity or for fact-checking, it sometimes takes longer than if you just recorded it yourself. The final thing that I want to address, because it's something that comes up again and again, is people often say, well, why do you need so much equipment? Why do you need so many people? Name of YouTuber doesn't have anybody working for them. This person doesn't have anyone working for them. This person doesn't have anyone working for them. If you were at Fully Charged Live this year, you would have seen some YouTubers wandering around, most of them with somebody in tow. The somebody in tow was sometimes their significant other, sometimes it was a friend, but very often it was somebody who worked with them, whether it be a camera person, whether it be their video editor, whether it be the person who just helps them film unofficially. Pretty much everyone in this space has a team of people behind them. We just choose to be more open and not honest, but more open about it. I think every one of those YouTubers I can think of, pretty much every one of them have mentioned their video editor or the person who does my videos or their researcher or any of those other people who have a role helping them make videos. We are just much more upfront about it because I have never wanted Transport Evolved to be about me, the person, but rather the goal of the company, the goal of the channel, which is to get more people behind the wheel of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transport to help accelerate the transition to low emission, zero emission transportation, to try and stop what many of us played a part in causing over time. And if you're a Gen Z, well, congratulations, you may not have ever driven a petrol or diesel powered car, but society has had a part to play, and we've all now got to try and help other people change the direction, steer the ship in another way. So, that was a bit rambly, but if you have any ideas on how you think we can grow the company, please let us know. Obviously, you can support us through Patreon. There's a link in the description below. You can also send us Ko-fi and Bitcoin. Every little helps, as a certain supermarket ad in the UK used to say. Do they still say that? Let me know below, because obviously I don't live in the UK anymore. But going forwards, we have a choice. Expand, stay as we are, continue to be niche, or potentially lose out to all of the mainstream automotive press who've suddenly gone, oh, electric cars are not stupid. Maybe we should start covering them. And unfortunately, those are the biggest wallets, tend to be the ones that get the cars and the drives and the coverage. It's why we take longer to make a video than a lot of people, because it just physically takes longer because there's only a few of us. Anyway, enough rambling. Thanks for watching. You are all amazing. There's a video coming tomorrow, hopefully, unless there's a breaking news story, on this cold weather that's been facing us in the United States, and how electric vehicles and renewable energy technologies can actually strengthen the grid rather than break it down, which is what many people would like you to believe. And then I think we've got some other cool content coming later in the week. It's 6:20. I'm going to go and cook supper. Thanks for joining me. Keep evolving.